Hey, what's happening guys? It's Bharat for iGyaan, and today we're going to be comparing the OnePlus 3 with the LeEco Max 2. Now, the OnePlus 3's launch gathered a lot of global attention, and there's good reason. The OnePlus 2 was not such a huge success, and the OnePlus 3 sort of brings everything that people wanted and packs it all together for a price of $27,999. The Max 2 has identical specifications but a larger screen size and also is available in two variants, and it starts as low as $22,999 for the 4GB plus 32GB variant and $29,999 for the 6GB plus 64GB variant. Now, if we talk about build quality, both of these devices feature an all aluminum build. The OnePlus 3 has a nicer, more rounded off finish and is also much lighter than the Max 2. The OnePlus 3 weighs in only at 158 grams and is 7.35 mm at its thickest. The Max 2, on the other hand, is quite hefty at 185 grams, is also thicker at 8 mm. Now, if we talk about hardware, both of these devices have quite a lot of similarities. For example, both of these run on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 chipset and have the Adreno 530 GPU. The clock speed on the Max 2 is kept at 2.15 GHz at a maximum, whereas on the OnePlus 3 you get 2.2 GHz, only a slight difference. The Max 2 is available in two variants, a 4GB and a 32GB variant, and a 6GB and a 64GB variant, whereas the OnePlus 3 is only available in a 6GB plus 64GB variant. Now, both of these devices use LPDDR4 RAM and have UFS 2 storage. Now, the difference starts off from the cameras. The Max 2 has a 21 megapixel camera which has optical image stabilization, an f2 aperture, PDAF, and quick focus. Whereas the OnePlus 3 for the main camera has a 16 megapixel Sony sensor, a 1.12 micron pixel size, and also has PDAF, optical image stabilization, electronic image stabilization, and a similar f2 aperture. Now, both of these devices have similar front cameras with an 8 megapixel sensor, whereas on the OnePlus 3 you get an f2 aperture and on the Max 2 you get an f2.2 aperture. Both of these devices will shoot 1080p video from the front camera and 4K video at 30 frames per second from the rear camera. As far as batteries are concerned, the OnePlus 3 has a 3000 mAh battery with a quick charge feature called Dash Charge. On the Max 2, the 3100 mAh battery supports something called Le Supercharge, which is their own proprietary quick charging system. Both these devices are running Android 6.0 with their own layer of user interface. The OnePlus 3 gets Oxygen UI, very simplistic, mostly stock user interface, whereas on the Max 2 you get EUI 5.6, which is their own user interface, which has all the apps sitting on the home screen, plus a lot of customizations. Another difference between these two devices is the fact that the OnePlus 3 still has the 3.5mm headphone jack, and whereas a lot of companies are moving away from the 3.5mm headphone jack in hopes that Apple will do it too, whereas on the Max 2 it removes the 3.5mm headphone jack and only has audio through the USB port using CDLA, and they also supply a USB Type-C to 3.5mm headphone adapter inside the box. Now, if we quickly talk about build quality, both of these devices have an all aluminum shell. The OnePlus 3 has a nice rounded finish. You also get Gorilla Glass over at the front. The Max 2 is sharper, has dual chamfers on both sides, but has sharper edges. They sort of bite into your hand, and it's quite difficult to use the device even with larger hands to reach from point to point. LeEco has included a shift side keyboard, which allows you to shift most of the keyboard to the side that you're going to be typing from, so you can only use the device with one hand. Still, reaching to edges of the screen is quite a difficulty. The OnePlus, on the other hand, has a 5.5-inch display, so it's a lot easier to reach. Also, the rounded edges don't hurt your hand when you're trying to reach those far places as they do on the Max 2. The Max 2 also has a Quad HD display, giving it a 515 pixel per inch ratio on a 5.7 inch display, whereas on the OnePlus 3 you get a 5.5 inch display which is full HD, giving it a 401 pixels per inch. So the Max 2 definitely has a better display. The OnePlus 3 does have an AMOLED display this time around. You do get a lot deeper colors and richer saturation. Now, thanks to the fact that the processor and the GPU is not powering that quad HD display. OnePlus 3 delivers a lot more in terms of benchmarks, and you'll see the great difference over here. The OnePlus 3 completely overtakes the LeMax 2 in terms of benchmarks, and mostly because of the graphics element and the UI capability of the OnePlus 3 thanks to the low-res display. Now, while playing games, we tried to switch from one game to another, and both of these devices seem to be managing that without a problem. The LeMax 2 has a included RAM manager inbuilt, so you can quickly end applications and see how much of your memory is free. The OnePlus 3 on average retains about 3.5 GB of memory free on the 6 GB variant. The OnePlus 3 in general has about 3.5 GB of RAM free, and once you kill all the applications, about 4 GB of RAM is available to use for any application that you might use. The LeMax 2 that we are checking out is the 6 GB variant, so it's quite comparable in terms of RAM management. You get about 4 GB free at all times when you quit applications, but if you have running applications, it'll depend on the usage of the application. Despite more megapixels on the LeMax 2, we found the camera on the OnePlus 3 to perform a lot better in low light situations. Also, accuracy of color and sharpness on the OnePlus 3's camera is superior compared to that on the LeMax 2. The LeMax 2's camera application does feature a lot more customizations, a lot more features and quirks, whereas the OnePlus 3 comes with a very standard basic camera application. Now, both of these devices support dual nano SIM cards and do not have expandable storage beyond the capacity that you select. So on the OnePlus 3, you will get only a 64 GB storage capacity, whereas on the LeMax 2, you can either choose a 32 GB or a 64 GB storage. Neither of these devices will support micro SD card expandability. We found for day-to-day use, the OnePlus 3 seems to be a lot more responsive than the LeMax 2. The user interface also seems to be slightly cleaner and a lot more organized. You have the shelf sitting on the left and no preloaded applications or bloatware whatsoever. On the LeMax 2, you do have a heavily customized user interface, which a lot of people are not enjoying at the moment. We do see a lack of memory management on the EUI, which does slow down the performance quite a lot. You also have a lot of unnecessary features and apps that are preloaded that you may use or you may not use. Now, at the end of it, it all comes down to personal choice. The OnePlus 3 has some advantages, including a more rounded and a more natural feeling build quality and design. You also get faster performance and a tad bit better camera capability. The LeMax 2 on the other hand has a slightly larger display, a slightly larger battery at 3100 mAh. You also get a quad HD resolution and a 21 megapixel rear camera. Fact is that you can also buy the LeMax 2 for as low as 22,999. The OnePlus 3 is available only in one variant at 27,999. There are pros and cons for both of these devices, but according to us, one of the biggest pro for the OnePlus 3 is the fact that there is no invite system and there are no flash sales. You can go and buy it outright right now for 27,999, and that definitely puts it slightly above in terms of rating for our comparison between the LeMax 2 and the OnePlus 3. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, guys, give it a big thumbs up. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and you can visit iGyaan.in for more details. You can also play in our 6-year anniversary giveaway, which is going on right now. I'll leave the details to that in the description below. This has been Bharat. Thank you guys for watching.